When a student loses focus and stares out the window, it is easy to blame yourself. You assume your lesson failed to capture their attention. But expecting any group of human beings to maintain 100% continuous engagement is an impossible myth. Instead of trying to force absolute attention through sheer willpower, you can build an environment where students actively choose to participate. This is a framework based on the work of pedagogical designer Regina Shekmetova. By translating her principles into a single one-page tool, we can map out a strategy to keep students moving forward. Writing this down takes abstract educational theory and turns it into a physical blueprint you can use in your classroom on day one. Let's build it together. Step 1. Take a piece of paper and divide it into 4 quadrants. As we fill this out, I want you to picture one specific, challenging class you teach as your test case. Quadrant 1 is for your core values. Here, you will write down 3 or 4 non-negotiable rules for how your classroom operates. Be highly specific. Write things like, comfort is a priority, so you can eat if you are hungry, or we learn for the present context, not just a future exam. There is a simple test to see if your core values are effective. They must be clear enough that you can present them explicitly to your students on the very first day of class. Now move to Quadrant 2. This is the responsibility matrix. Here you establish a hard boundary outlining exactly what the teacher's job is and what the student's job is. To draw this boundary, we have to contrast 2 different teaching environments. You can run your classroom like an artificial greenhouse or an organic jungle. In the greenhouse, you control every condition. You spoon-feed solutions and make all the choices to guarantee a short-term result, like passing a test. But doing this forces the teacher to hold the entire structure up, and the student learns nothing about how to function on their own. In the jungle, the environment requires the student to adapt. If a student needs a printed workbook for your lesson, it is not your job to print it. You require the workbook, and the student must figure out how to find a printer. They solve the logistical problems. Deliberately stepping back forces your students to struggle with logistics. This builds genuine independence for them and prevents severe burnout for you. Let's look at Quadrant 3. Look at your upcoming lesson plan and pinpoint the exact moment where the material becomes difficult. This chart shows the Bandura curve. When a student starts a task, their motivation initially rises. But the moment they hit a difficult concept or fail to find an immediate solution, that motivation drops sharply. This dip is a natural psychological response to hitting a roadblock. It means the student is processing a challenge. It does not mean your lesson plan has failed. But this trough is your critical window to intervene. In Quadrant 3, write down one specific external motivation tool you will use right at this dip. Plan to offer a targeted hint, ask a guiding question, or deploy a gamified reward exactly when they get stuck. If you deliver that external motivation at the right moment, the green line shows their motivation bouncing back up. If you ignore the dip, the yellow line shows their effort crashing completely flat. Mapping this dip in advance changes your role in the classroom. Instead of acting as a reactive disciplinarian trying to force a student to work, you become a proactive facilitator maintaining their momentum. Finally, we move to Quadrant 4. This section outlines how you handle student mistakes without destroying their internal motivation to learn. Traditional grading relies heavily on red X's and letter grades. When a student receives the poor grade with no context, the feedback acts as an endpoint. It shuts down the learning process completely. Formative assessment works differently. Instead of a final grade, you provide detailed notes explaining exactly why the error occurred and lay out the exact steps they need to take to correct it. In this final quadrant, write down your commitment to keeping a teacher's diary. While they work, you will record their emotional reactions to tasks, who got frustrated, who got excited, rather than just recording their academic scores. By tracking these reactions over time, you can see which tasks cause anxiety and which ones build confidence. You can use this data to refine your interventions for the next lesson. Changing how you frame failure ensures your students stay in a continuous learning zone, rather than feeling trapped in a final punishment zone. Look down at your fully populated 4-quadrant paper. This completed document evolves your lesson plan into a self-sustaining educational environment blueprint. You have clearly shifted the logistical responsibility to the students, prepared for their inevitable drops in motivation, and redesigned your feedback loop to keep them engaged. Your next step is clear. Take Quadrant 1 into your classroom tomorrow and explicitly present these new rules of engagement to your students.